Eduardo Ortiz is a world-renowned photographer who was recently listed as one of the top 10 street photographers to watch by The Independent Photographer. Known for his complex, layered street photography, in this video we're going to follow along with Eduardo for the day, exploring how he goes about his process to capture spectacular images. So let's get right into it.
Well, I'm Eduardo Ortiz from Chile, from Valparaiso. I'm a street photographer, or just a photographer, I guess. I don't like too much the term street photography. I just love taking photos and traveling. I'm first a traveler, and then photography is a way for me to share, what I love of the world. We are just gonna walk around these little neighborhoods in Istanbul, because usually people always shoot in the same areas. So we are walking more like the neighborhoods. We are close to Fuji X-Pro, but it's a very good place, full of locals, and it's sometimes a little bit easier to compose a photo here. It's not a market full of people. Yeah, you see normal life.
Do you have any specific triggers or stuff that you're looking for?
Triggers. A nice moment is always like a good trigger, a gesture. Usually gestures. Someone doing something, with his hand, people pointing, or someone, with a nice expression in the face. But that's my trigger, but then I start building the photo from the background.
Is there anything specific you look out for a good background?
So a good background for me is simply a place where the subjects can pop. You can see things, you can tell easily what's going on. So sometimes you have a nice moment, but the background is too noisy, or people is wearing your subject is wearing a white color, and the background is full of red. So maybe your subject is not gonna pop in the right way. So this is a good background, it's a clean background, So I didn't take a good photo, but it's a background I will work on. You can have nice silhouettes of people, but also people, getting into the light. I think the important for me is always have, a clear, the clarity between the people or the subjects in the background. Either a silhouette, you can tell it is a silhouette. If it's someone who you can see the detail of the person, yeah, you can clearly tell. If there are too much overlapping of people, then for the viewer, it's hard to tell what's going on. Yeah, that's it. That's one of the first things I think of. The clarity. Having a good, nice figure-ground relationship. That's it. Well, let's go. Nothing is happening here. I'm trying to find a kind of good position to take the photo, but there's so many cars that I don't want to have the cars in the frame, so there you go. So I always try to look for having one or two anchors, someone who's not moving much, and they're all moving a lot. So if I get one that is more static, and then having more things going around, it would be easier to compose a good shot. Because it's really hard to compose a good shot when you're following around your subject. Usually you build your composition. I usually build my composition, and then I wait that things fall into the right place, but not just following my subject. So it's really hard, because the background, you don't know how it's going to come out,
So you're looking for static subjects that aren't moving,
yeah,
that you can build a composition around?
Maybe a guy, here, talking on the phone, smoking, that would be an anchor, because I know that this person is probably going to smoke there for 2-3 minutes. So I know that I can build my composition. Walaikum salam. I can build my composition, starting from that point. And I already got one layer, sort of thing, in my pocket. And then, or maybe there are more anchors, more people. And then I just wait, all the things fill all the gaps in the frame. This is a very simple shot, but it's very nice. Çok güzel, yeah. This is very simple, but it's lovely. It's super clean. It's a minimalistic kind of. Maybe I get a little bit further to give more context, because otherwise people don't kind of know. Oh, the cat! Oh, that would have been great to have the cat in the shot.
Abi bay bay yap.
Bye bye.
Bay bay.
You like that?
The way you interact with people, you kind of get quite close, you're very bold. Talk to us a little bit more about how you approach people in your photography and how do you get so close in your frames?
Well, I think I'm a people person first, you know, like I love interaction. As I said, I'm first a traveler and then a photographer. So for me, traveling, a big part is just getting to know the culture, getting to know people. And also, I'm never hiding myself with my camera. You see, I'm very upfront. I'm not doing anything like, it might look dodgy, like shooting from the hip or trying to hide myself. I'm just upfront, this is me, you know, I'm a photographer, or I believe I'm a photographer. And just like, I like to be honest. I love honesty from people, and so I like to be honest with them. And you show, like, I'm not hiding myself, I'm taking photos.
Do you use the viewfinder all the time then? Is that important to you?
I love framing with a viewfinder. Yeah, so I like to have control of what the photos are going to look like. I tried once to use a Ricoh, and just framing like that with the camera, you know, seeing too much information, it just can't, because there's way too much information around. So the viewfinder helps me, you know, to cut a portion of the world, of the life, and just focus my attention, you know, on less things, you know. They have great, like, GRs, like the Ricoh is great, you know, to get like quirky angles and like crazy stuff, but I just need the viewfinder. It's a different way of working, I guess. Also because I'm kind of a little bit obsessive with composition, sort of. So looking through the viewfinder really helps me to just focus.
And with composition, you said you're quite obsessive with composition. What to you makes a good composition in a photograph?
Oof. There are so many things in composition, so many elements, you know. You have scale, you have the leading lines. But for me, the most important thing is figure-ground relationship, you know, having a good separation between the subjects in the background. Once you get that, then you can work the rest of the things. But for me, that's a crucial part, beyond the composition, you know, the geometry and shape and, you know, patterns. And it's great to get a pattern, for instance, in a photo. But they're really hard to get in real life, to get a pattern, you know, people wearing the same color in different part of the frame, then making, you know, the color, making your eyes, you know, go through all the frame. So I think composition, it's key for the viewer. I mean, if you don't have a strong composition in your photo, it's easier for the viewer to not understand what's going on. You know, the person gets lost in this photo and not able to tell what's going on here. A good way to understand composition, we were talking before about the film. So I watch a lot of cinema, and for me, watching cinema helps me to understand how the composition affects the moment. For instance, you see like a composition with a lot of negative space, and you're gonna make this person and this subject in the film probably look like small, like maybe a little melancholic. So sometimes it's good to get closer, but sometimes it's nice to give space to a subject and get another feeling, another idea. Through cinema, because the people, you know, filmmakers, they have a lot of time to take care of these compositions. You know. When you're in the street, you need to find it, you know, on the fly, on the go, and it's pretty hard to find a good composition. But if you manage, you know, to tell a story, I got a photo I took recently that you like in Tashkent. The photo of the kid giving a gun to his father, you know, there's a massive background. I could have get really close to that photo, but the idea is to give the context of the place, to tell a whole story, not just like the moment, it was like the whole thing.
So talking about story, are you looking for singular images that tell a story mainly, or do you also look for different scenes that tell a story together when you see them next to other photos?
I'm working on that now. I think I want to work more on my storytelling, so with many pictures to tell the story of a place. And sometimes there are like some shots that are boring, but they really give you the sensation of the place you are in. But for me, mainly, I just look for random shots of daily life. I'm not looking for anything too in particular. I just want to feel, you know, enjoy my walk, my day. feel amazed by the world. But then, like when I was in Uzbekistan, I noticed that there was blue color everywhere. So I told myself, maybe I could tell a story, or I could have a series of photos with just blue in it. And I'm then a little bit more triggered by the blue and trying to find, compositions where the blue had a more important presence. But yeah, they go together. So for instance, now I'm lowering a lot my shutter speed to close the aperture to get more context in frame. If I could easily go for like 1,000 of a second and, or 500 of a second, and then by closing my aperture, but it means less context, less, So I'd rather use a slow shutter speed, try to keep steady, my hands steady, because people are not moving fast. And then, close my aperture as much as possible, because the place is dark, but always trying to keep, at least f5 and 6, f8 to get a lot of depth, depth of field, so I get a lot of context. Otherwise, I don't like to make things lost in the blurry, I don't use bokeh. No, I don't use bokeh at all. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum.
Aleykümselam.
Turizm. So I like the man that is in the background. That's kind of alone. So everybody's like kind of sharing. Well, except for this man, but he's like kind of in the corner, So I'm gonna try to find a way to frame him.
You were so bold, right? You just went straight in there, went about your photography, worked the scene. So some photographers, I guess people watching this at home, maybe aren't the most confident. So have you got any tips for how to approach street photography in that way, to be a bit bolder, to be more confident, just to go in there and start taking photos?
Yeah, well, my advice is to to build your confidence little by little. So if you don't get, have enough confidence at the beginning, start with a 50. Start with maybe a little bit cropper, then maybe a 40, maybe a 35, 28. But honestly, people are much better than people tend to think it is. People are much nicer. I've almost never had a problem, almost never. And also, I think I'm so, up front, I just come towards people and with the camera in my hand, you see me never, crouch it or something, you just, stood up like normally. So I'm not hiding myself, I'm just, this is me, I'm a photographer. I like to take photos and I'm gonna take a photo of you if you don't mind, but I don't know, it just works,
You always have very open, positive body language, you always smile.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I go up front, because if I look, see, I'm doing this, maybe people are gonna get, maybe, edgy vibes, I don't know, so yeah, I try just to be open-minded. If I see somebody, too, concerned about my presence, I would just walk away. I usually work the scene till the moment, or either the moment is gone, or I'm getting kicked out by somebody. That's it. That's my two, things. I'm always looking for something different. Like even in Istanbul is seen so much. I'm always looking for like spaces like these, full of nice colors, and people just doing the daily stuff. I don't like the tourist places, you know. I just love, you know, see like people drinking tea, playing cards, and I love when seeing people playing cards, you know. I wish I knew how they play. I could just join them and play with them, you know. And yeah, and so I'm not really focused on so much in the photography, to be honest. Like I go with, of course, with the camera. I go out every day with my camera, no matter what. I always have it with me because I don't like taking photos with a phone. But my main purpose is just hit the streets and getting, you know, fall in love with the world again. So just enjoy the light, enjoy finding a new place that I enjoy, like this one. I always bring people here because it's such a beautiful place, you know. So I'm not really obsessed with getting the photos. For me, it's more the process that I enjoy. You know, the process of getting to a place, working the scene.
So you mentioned working the scene. Like when you are not really looking for a photo, you're in a place, you're just observing the world, seeing what happens. What is it you're thinking about, or what sparks your curiosity to actually take a photo? Like how do you work a scene? How do you decide when you think there's potential somewhere?
So first I see kind of what you think, the potential. So for me, the background has to work. So I get drawn to a moment. It's a moment that what gets me, you know, my attention and to try to get a shot. You know, it's a moment for me, it's essential to get a shot. Without a moment for me, a photo is kind of, I don't want photos that live just in the abstract or in the form. I want moments. I want moments, things that make the photo alive and kind of last longer in the consciousness of people. But so for me, you know, that would have been a great moment. You know, him picking, you know, choosing the newspaper, and then, but what gets my attention is this moment. But then I start working the scene through the background. So the background here is perfect for me. You know, like. So what gets my attention is the man, but for me, what it works is the background. So I start with the background is amazing. It's perfect. You know, the colors are great. The newspaper has a little hint of red that gets your eyes right to the middle part of the frame. So yeah, that's for me essential. So I place the man in background and some of the context of the place in the foreground. You know, that's how it's like try to create a narrative in just one layer. It's shot. So now I have 2, 1, 2, and the background is like a third layer.
So it's like you're building elements into the scene as you go. So you notice the background first.
And also in a moment, you know, the moments of people playing, then I notice the background and start building from the background to get a shot, final shot. Yeah, because the world for me it's complex. It's not just one layer. You know, when I started at the beginning of my journey, I usually had photos with just one layer, someone walking into the light, you know, like light and shadow play. But now what I enjoy is to show the complexity of life. That life is not one layer. You know, there's a bad day, good days. You know, life is chaotic, and Istanbul is perfect for that. It's like so much happening here.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but most of your work's in colour. So how important is colour to you, and what do you look for in terms of colour, and how do you balance it in your frames?
Oh, that's a very good question. So the main thing of color. Pardon. So the main thing of color is that it gives you the idea of the place you are. So if you are in Morocco, let's say, I feel like by photographing Morocco in color, people would feel the sand, would feel, you know, the dryness of, and the blue sky, you know, that's always there, that is almost always blue, you know. So people can get an idea of the heat by color. In black and white, it's hard to get a feeling of heat because you don't have the color layer that gives you that information. So, I mean, for me, color is about context. It's giving context, and when you create a photo in color, the color, you know, it's hard to work with when you're creating, like, let's say, a layer shot, because the people wearing the right colors, you know, sometimes you have someone in the background that is not doing anything important, but is wearing red color, and then this person is getting so much attention because he's wearing red, you know, and might be more a distraction than actually something adding to the photo. Think in my color palettes in a way that they don't either the moment, for instance, if it's a peaceful moment, sometimes it's good to have like a more neutral, like muted colors, that make this moment more like peaceful, or maybe a hidden color, gives you, I talked about a photo I took in Bolivia before, that it was, it's a woman sleeping on a bus. So you can get, outside was this blue sky, a little bit of this desert, and then the only hint of color was actually, the aguayo, the thing covering herself. For me, that the color is in the right place because it's kind of getting all the attention into the woman. So for me, that's the power of color. If that photo would be in black and white, it wouldn't work in black. It wouldn't work at all. Yeah, cool. The ferries are kind of, seem like a really good place to take photos, but it's a little bit tricky because the contrast, the dynamic range is, there's a lot of difference between the highlights and the shadows. So, it's hard to work to make a really good photo. It's easy to take photos here, but to take a good photo is really hard. It's full of average photos in the ferries,
What can you do to take a good photo on a ferry, do you think?
I think wait for the good light. And for me, the best time is when you get blue hour, they light up these lights, like yellowy. So the color contrast between the coldness of outside with the blue hour, with the warmth of the lights inside, it's perfect combination. So for me, that's the moment where I feel I can get more very good photos, like having the blue outside, this contrast. The color contrast really helps me to create a good story in the ferry. And it's about color. You cannot tell the photo in black and white. This is just about color, about this difference between the warmth and the cold from outside with the warmth from inside the boat. For me, that's the best time to get a good photo here. And during the day, it's tricky. It's tricky because it's like, you see, it's so shady here. You can play with the reflection though. If you see through that window, you get a reflection of what's more highlighted here. So that could be a good way to get a decent photo. Play with a little bit of reflections, or wait till the sun is very low, and you'll get like a very nice light inside of the boat.
So how about photography influences?
Oh.
Do you have a favorite photographer or multiple photographers that you appreciate?
I have multiple photographers I appreciate. Some of them, I did some, there's a YouTube channel called Imitative Photography, which is really good. So because the guy, find a photographer who he really loves, like let's say Trent Park, and he tries to get photos like Trent Park, which is really hard. So I did that quite a lot at the beginning of my journey. I found a photographer I enjoy, like Van Ho, and then I was going to the street and trying to get a photo like Van Ho, but not for the sake of copying. It was more for the getting into the mind of a photographer in particular. So I did a lot of copying, but copying for the sake of understanding the thought process behind this photography. So, and I did a lot with Henry Cartier-Bresson, with Harry Gruyère, that's the hardest one because the way he works colors is just sublime. But I would say, yeah, every photographer has something good to offer. Every photographer is a world, a different world. I had Gary Guino. I cannot say that I love more Gary Guino than the Joel Merowitz or Harry Gruyère. For them, all of them are necessary. We need to study them all, I guess. Yeah, different worlds,
So you think it's important to look at other photographers' work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Create visual culture. So like you need to consume a lot of pictures to be able to make good pictures, and then you can recognize the things that are kind of the tricks that you can copy in the future. You can learn color combinations. You can learn how to recognize a good moment. That's something that people usually struggle quite a lot at the beginning of photography journey, is recognizing what's a worthy moment to be photographed. It's someone with a phone. That's not really compelling for me to tell a story. I say everybody's with the fucking phone now. So how to be able to recognize a good moment, and I think that's good to like consume a lot of photos, to see the photos of like, you know, the masters, you know, my Joel Meyerowitz, or, you know, like Danny Arbus, or, you know, Marielle and Mark, you know, to see the moments, you know, like how these pictures are still alive today, you know, like that's the best, man.
All right, thanks for letting me spend the day with you, Eduardo.
Oh, it was a pleasure, man. It was super good, man.
Let's tell the people where they can find you, see your work, check you out.
Well, they can find me on my Instagram, Eduardo Ortiz Photo. Also, I have a small YouTube channel where I also share part of my journey. I don't have many videos, but every video for me is like meaningful, because I usually don't have, I prefer to spend my time taking photos than making videos. Also have a Substack that is the place where I curate more my work, where I share some stories, but more like personal stuff instead of just more like, you know, it's more thought out, you know, more like stories, ideas. My YouTube channel is more like educational stuff. Yeah, so you're all invited. Continue taking photos. Have a beautiful journey, man.
Peace.